At my husband's funeral, my sister revealed that her son was my husband's child and she had the will to prove it. There are moments in life when everything you know can be shattered with a single phone call. 3 months ago, my husband David, the very center of my world, vanished from my life without warning. It was a senseless collision on Interstate 75 during rush hour, something that no one could have prevented. A drunk driver ran a red light, and in an instant, my entire world collapsed. I wake up in the mornings without him and go to bed at night with him still gone. It still doesn't feel real that this is my life now. People try to comfort me by saying time heals all wounds, but ever since that day, my own sense of time has completely stopped. The hole in my heart seems to grow bigger and deeper with each passing day. Since losing David, I've retreated into myself, keeping my distance from everyone, especially from my own family. I know they're worried about me, but their sympathy only makes my pain harder to bear. I was never particularly close to my younger sister Sophia. She always seemed to live in a completely different world, shining bright in ways I never could. While I was the quiet bookkeeper who preferred staying home, she was the social butterfly, always traveling, always posting glamorous photos on Instagram, always surrounded by admirers. Then one afternoon, my phone rang, cutting through the silence of my empty house in suburban Atlanta. Sophia's name flashed on the screen. It was so unusual that I remember my heart skipped a beat. We hadn't spoken since David's funeral, where she'd given me a brief, awkward hug before disappearing into the crowd. "Hey Ava," her voice was unusually bright, almost cheerful. "Next Saturday, we're throwing a birthday party for my sweet little Lucas's 2nd birthday. You have to come." Lucas, my tiny nephew, whom I'd only met once at Christmas 2 years ago. Honestly, I hesitated. Would it really be okay for someone like me, weighed down with grief, to show up at such a joyful event? But then a thought struck me. Maybe this was a chance, maybe a gift from above, an opportunity to reconnect with my family, who I'd kept at arm's length for so long. Maybe this was the first step to climbing out of the depths of sorrow. So I drove to the Lenox Square Mall and searched for the perfect gift. I chose a beautiful wooden toy chest from FAO Schwartz, hoping it would bless my nephew's bright future. The weight of it in my hands seemed to give strength to my resolve. I pictured myself handing the gift to Sophia, laughing together, holding Lucas in my arms. Yes, I could do this. Even if it was just a small step, I needed to move forward. Back then, I had no idea that party wouldn't heal my wounds. Instead, it would become the beginning of a cruel trap, one that would strike even deeper and leave me more broken than ever. On the day of the party, I took a deep breath and rang Sophia's doorbell at her upscale townhouse in Buckhead. The moment the door opened, I was hit by a wave of lively music, some pop song by Taylor Swift, sweet vanilla candle scents, and laughter that seemed to bounce off the walls. Inside, the house looked like something out of a Pinterest board. Blue and gold balloons everywhere, with happy 2nd birthday Lucas banners stretching across the living room. The space was packed with elegantly dressed guests, Sophia's friends from her marketing job, distant relatives, neighbors chatting with champagne flutes in hand. Everyone looked so happy, while I, in my simple black dress, felt like a colorless ghost, utterly out of place among all the bright spring colors and designer outfits. "Ava, you made it." Sophia wove through the crowd to greet me, her figure-hugging coral dress and flawless makeup making her shine like always. "Happy birthday to Lucas. Where is he?" I asked, holding up the wrapped toy chest. "Oh, he's napping upstairs," she said, her eyes immediately drifting to the expensive gift bag in my hand. "Oh wow. What's this?" "It's a present for Lucas. It's nothing special really." "Don't be silly. Thank you so much." With a theatrical gesture, Sophia hugged me, then immediately took the bag and disappeared toward a table piled high with gifts. That was the extent of our conversation, just a fleeting exchange, yet I felt exhausted already. I found myself standing awkwardly by the kitchen island, sipping ginger ale while conversations flowed around me. Sophia's friends talked about their latest vacations to the Hamptons and Napa Valley, while I tried to blend into the background. About an hour later, when the party was at its peak, Sophia suddenly picked up a small microphone connected to a portable speaker. "Everyone, can I have your attention for just a moment?" she called out, tapping her champagne glass with a silver spoon. The music stopped and every eye in the living room turned to her. I looked up from my corner by the bookshelf, wondering what she was about to say. Some kind of toast, maybe? A thank you speech to the guests? I'm truly happy to be able to celebrate my son Lucas's second birthday with all of you today. Thank you so much for being here." Warm applause filled the room. Sophia smiled, pausing for dramatic effect, then, as if dropping a bomb, spoke her next words. "And on this special day, I have something very important to share with you all." She took a breath and looked straight at me. For a split second, I saw something cold flash in her eyes, something I'd never noticed before. "Until today, I've kept this a secret. But the truth is, Lucas's real father is..." Someone in the room let out a sharp, audible gasp. "The man who died 3 months ago, my brother-in-law, David. Ava's husband. He's Lucas's real father." Every sound in the living room vanished. It was as if time itself had frozen. All at once, everyone's gaze turned toward me, piercing me with a mixture of curiosity, pity, and confusion. "What is she saying? David?" My mind went completely blank. I couldn't process any of it, but Sophia just kept talking, her voice turning cold and sharp, nothing like the sweet tone from earlier. "As David's only child, Lucas is rightfully entitled to his inheritance. Half of the $180,000 he left behind, and half of the house Ava currently lives in, should actually go to this child." I could feel the world twisting around me, reality warping in slow motion. Sophia's words seeped into my heart like poison, each syllable carrying more malice than the last. Was this some sick joke? Or was I still trapped in the nightmare of losing my husband, unable to wake up? Her words cut through the cheerful air of the party like shards of glass. All around, the guests whispered nervously, unsure how to react. Some looked sympathetic toward me, but most were curious, their stares pricking my skin like needles. Somehow, I managed to move my unsteady legs forward, coming to stand in front of Sophia. "This must be some kind of mistake, Sophia. David would never do something like that." My voice was so small and shaky, I almost didn't recognize it as my own. But Sophia didn't even flinch. She gave me a smile, half triumphant, half pitying, then pulled her iPhone from her designer purse. "Mistake? I don't blame you for thinking that. You never really knew David at all, did you?" She unlocked her screen with practiced ease and thrust the phone in front of my face. "Can you still say the same thing after seeing this?" It was a photograph. The Oceanair Seafood Room downtown, a restaurant I recognized instantly because David had taken me there for our anniversary 2 years ago. But sitting next to David in the booth, leaning close and grinning from ear to ear, was Sophia, not me. Suddenly, my heart felt as if it had been dropped into ice water. "Since when?" I whispered. "Since the summer before last. That weekend you told me you'd be at that accounting conference in Nashville and asked me to check on your house while you were gone." Sophia began swiping through the photos, almost enjoying herself. More and more secret memories appeared. A picture of the two of them holding hands in what looked like a luxury hotel lobby, the Ritz-Carlton. I could see the distinctive decor. Sophia curled up asleep in David's Honda Accord. And worst of all, a string of text messages that made my blood run cold. "David, I can't keep lying to Ava any longer. Sophia, you're the only one I love. Sophia, when are you going to tell her the truth? David, I swear I will before the baby turns 2. I want to start a new life with you and our son." Every word seared itself into my brain. All the while I'd been going through fertility treatments at Piedmont Hospital, spending thousands of dollars and enduring painful procedures, he'd been planning a new family with my own sister right under my nose. At that moment, everything I believed in, love, trust, family loyalty, all the happy memories of my marriage, twisted into something ugly. Nothing but a filthy lie. "No, this is all fabricated," I said, clinging to one last hope. I turned desperately to my parents, who stood near the fireplace looking uncomfortable. "Mom, Dad, say something. Sophia's lost her mind." But neither of them tried to stop her. Instead, both looked away, shame written all over their faces. Their silence said everything I needed to know. "You knew." At my question, my mother opened her mouth hesitantly. "Ava, we just..." "Since when?" At the sound of my low, dangerous voice, my father finally spoke, sounding resigned and heavy. "Sophia told us about 8 months before the accident." 8 months. The words felt like something inside me finally snapped. All this time, they'd known everything. While pretending to comfort me, listening to my grief at family dinners, bringing me casseroles and offering to help with the funeral arrangements. They'd all been part of this cruel, calculated betrayal behind my back. There was not a single person in this room who was truly on my side. Not one person who really loved me. Not now, not ever. I found myself unable to say another word. I simply took a slow, unsteady step backward, burning the faces of these traitors into my memory. Then I turned and ran from that place, away from everyone who had ever betrayed me. I heard my mother call my name behind me, but I never looked back. I have no memory of how I managed to get home from that hellish party. All I can recall is the way my hands shook with anger and despair as I gripped the steering wheel of my Toyota Camry, driving through the familiar streets of my neighborhood that now felt foreign and hostile. Back at home, I was just a shell of myself. Photos of David and me at our wedding in Savannah, laughing together at Stone Mountain, at various restaurants around Atlanta. His favorite Georgia Bulldogs coffee mug, the clothes still hanging in his closet. Every little relic of our happiness now felt like a cruel prop, mocking me in every corner of our house. I collapsed onto the sofa and stared at the ceiling for hours. No tears came. It felt as if grief itself had been blown away, so utterly overwhelmed by the shock of betrayal. Instead, I felt something cold and hard begin to take shape deep inside me. It was rage, pure, crystalline rage. A few days later, just as I expected, I received a thick FedEx envelope. It was from Anderson & Associates, a law firm in downtown Atlanta. Official legal documents formally demanding a division of David's estate, complete with a custody arrangement that would give Sophia partial control over our shared assets for the benefit of the minor child. My phone rang endlessly with calls from my family. Dad pleading, "Ava, please, just let us explain." Mom trying to justify, "Don't make this harder than it has to be. Think about the child." But their words meant nothing to me anymore. I blocked every single number. In my heart, I'd already cut all ties with them. There was no way I was going to give in and let them have their way with what David left behind. This wasn't about money anymore. This was about my dignity, my sanity, my very identity as David's wife. I opened my contacts and searched for the name of someone I'd been introduced to by a colleague at the accounting firm, a top attorney specializing in estate law and family disputes. After a few rings, a calm male voice answered. "Thompson and Associates, this is Robert Thompson. How can I help you?" With trembling lips, I began to speak. "My name is Ava Hartwell. I'm about to be dragged into a legal battle over my husband's inheritance against my own sister, and I need help." Robert listened to my scattered emotional story all the way to the end without interrupting once. And when I finished, he said firmly, "Ava, I know this must be incredibly difficult. But you're not alone. I promise I will do everything in my power to protect your interests." The moment I heard those words, it was like a faint warm light breaking through the ice around my heart. Yes, I would fight. Even if the whole world turned against me, I'd never give up on defending my life with David. My counterattack had begun, but the first meeting with Robert tested the limits of my resolve. Copies of all the evidence Sophia's legal team had gathered were spread out across the heavy mahogany conference table in his downtown office. "To be perfectly honest, Mrs. Hartwell, the situation doesn't look favorable," Robert said evenly, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses. "The photos, the message logs, and most importantly, the fact that your parents are backing Sophia's claim. With all this, there's a high chance the court will be sympathetic to her and the child." I knew that already, but hearing it again from an expert made the truth hit even harder, weighing me down like a lead blanket. Could I really win? Was this fight just a hopeless, desperate struggle against overwhelming odds? Doubt crept in like a black fog, slowly suffocating my confidence. That night, as I sat sunk deep into the sofa, staring at nothing but the blank TV screen, my phone buzzed softly. On the screen was the name Margaret, my mother-in-law. I'd told her about the meeting earlier. After the party, it was Margaret, not my own parents, who came running and wrapped me in her arms. Even when David was alive, she and I had been able to talk about anything, as if we were real mother and daughter. But now, I was almost afraid to answer, knowing I might disappoint her with my legal situation. After a few rings, I steeled myself and picked up, my voice barely a whisper. "Hello? Ava, sweetheart, it's me. Are you okay? I was worried about how your meeting with the attorney went today." Her warm, caring voice was just the same as always. And in that moment, everything I'd been holding back threatened to overflow. "I'm sorry, Margaret. The situation is as bad as it gets. The lawyer says the evidence Sophia prepared is just too strong. Even my own parents are backing her lies. He says I barely have a chance of winning. I could hear Margaret gasp on the other end of the line as she listened to my trembling voice. After a few seconds of silence, she spoke with a quiet, steely determination that was completely unlike her usual gentle demeanor. Ava, listen to me carefully. This isn't over. Absolutely not. The force in Margaret's words left me momentarily stunned. But the evidence, if it's evidence you need, we have it too. There's one undeniable truth that can overturn all of Sophia's lies from the ground up. She paused for a moment, and I could hear her taking a deep breath. It's something I promised David I would take to the grave, to protect his privacy. I've kept it to myself all these years, but this isn't the time to hesitate. David's real honor is in protecting the happiness you shared together. Margaret, what are you talking about? Can we meet tomorrow? There's something I have to give you, and there's a truth I need to tell you in person. I could feel her seriousness even through the phone, and all I could do was nod weakly. The next day, we agreed to meet at a quiet Starbucks in Virginia Highland. I arrived first, nervously sipping a latte to soothe my dry throat as I waited. A few minutes later, Margaret walked in, her usual composed demeanor replaced by something heavy and pained. She sat quietly across from me, her expression full of anguish as she looked at me. Thank you for coming, sweetheart. First, I need you to believe this. David never betrayed you. Not ever. Those words hit me like a tidal wave, but I was too emotionally drained to feel relief yet. Margaret continued carefully. About 7 months before the accident, David came to me, desperate for advice. He told me that your sister Sophia had been pursuing him relentlessly for over a year. At first, he tried to turn her down gently, but her behavior escalated. She even started showing up at his office at the accounting firm. My heart began to pound. David loved you too much to ever want you to find out. He told me, Ava is going through enough stress with the fertility treatments. I can't let her suffer because of family drama. So he asked me to keep it secret. All those photos and messages Sophia showed at the party, they were all malicious fabrications created by her alone. Margaret met my eyes directly. Then from her leather purse, she pulled out a slightly worn manila envelope and slid it across the small table to me. What is this? Open it. With trembling hands, I opened the envelope. Inside were several medical records from Emory University Hospital. The moment I read the technical medical terms, I was at a loss for words. Diagnosis, azoospermia. Male infertility. Probability of natural conception, 0%. It felt like I'd been struck by lightning. Margaret explained gently, when David was in college at the University of Georgia, he was in a serious motorcycle accident. He survived, but afterwards, the doctors discovered damage that left him permanently sterile. The only people who ever knew were his father and me. David made me promise never to tell you because he didn't want you to blame yourself for the fertility struggles or feel like less of a woman. Tears streamed down my cheeks, unstoppable. But they weren't tears of sorrow anymore. They were tears of relief, because the love I believed in had never been tainted. My husband had never betrayed me. Even while carrying this burden as a man, he'd kept that secret with his mother, suffering alone to protect me. A new feeling took hold in my heart, a quiet, unyielding resolve, harder and stronger than anger. This was no longer just a fight for my dignity. Now I was fighting to protect the honor of the man I loved and the truth of our marriage, together with his family. With these medical records, I could completely overturn the elaborate lie Sophia had created. It was the one piece of absolute undeniable evidence that would expose her for the manipulative fraud she was. The air in the Fulton County courtroom was cold and tense. In the gallery, relatives from the party and curious onlookers whispered, their eyes boring into me. All I could do was stare straight ahead, clutching Robert's hand tightly at my side. On the witness stand, Sophia played the tragic heroine perfectly. A simple navy dress, minimal makeup, with occasional tears and a trembling voice, she told her forbidden love story with David as if it were gospel truth. We truly loved each other, but we couldn't bear to hurt Ava, so we kept it secret for her sake, she lied smoothly. My parents took the stand next, perfectly backing up Sophia's lies. Mom cried as she described their supposed struggle with the relationship. Dad testified gravely that David was truly looking forward to Lucas's birth and planning to leave Ava. Their story was airtight, and even the judge's face seemed to be softening with sympathy for Sophia. I could hear quiet sobs from the gallery. It felt like I was being slowly suffocated, caught in an inescapable web of malice. After Sophia's witnesses finished, the courtroom fell silent. Robert stood up quietly. Your Honor, at this time the defense would like to submit decisive evidence. He handed copies of the medical records Margaret had given him to the judge and Sophia's attorney. The courtroom buzzed with whispers as Sophia's lawyer looked over the documents, a deep frown creasing his brow. What is this? Sophia's attorney demanded. These are medical records from when the late David Hartwell was treated at Emory University Hospital following a motorcycle accident in college. As clearly stated, he was rendered permanently sterile from that time onward, making it medically impossible for him to father any children. The entire courtroom fell dead silent. For the first time, Sophia's once confident expression froze completely. That's a lie. Those documents are fake, she shrieked, but Robert remained calm. Is that so? Then let's settle this with the most reliable method available. He paused, then raised his voice to address the entire court. We request a DNA test to determine the biological relationship between Lucas and the late David Hartwell. In that instant, all color drained from Sophia's face. The judge looked gravely from Margaret to Sophia and brought down his gavel. Request granted. A DNA test will be conducted, and court will reconvene once results are available. Sophia collapsed into her chair like a marionette whose strings had been cut. Those 2 weeks waiting for the DNA results felt like an eternity. Inside, I was torn between wanting desperately to believe in the truth Margaret had given me and the lingering fear of what might happen if somehow things went wrong. But unlike all the hopeless nights before, I could finally see a glimmer of dawn at the end of this nightmare. And then the day arrived. I held tightly to Margaret's hand in the courtroom, barely breathing as Judge Harrison began to speak. The DNA test results have been thoroughly reviewed, he announced, his voice echoing through the packed courtroom. Based on the submitted genetic evidence, there is no biological relationship between the minor child Lucas and the late David Hartwell. Therefore, it is conclusively determined that Mr. Hartwell is not the child's father. The judge's solemn words hung in the air like a final verdict from heaven itself. Sophia sat there shaking uncontrollably, muttering, "No, this can't be happening," over and over. My parents beside her looked as if they'd turned to stone. The elaborate web of lies they'd spun together crumbled instantly before the undeniable truth of science. The court finds fully in favor of the defendant, Mrs. Ava Hartwell. All claims against the estate are dismissed with prejudice. The sound of the gavel marked the end of this long nightmare. Outside the courthouse, the crisp autumn air felt wonderful on my flushed cheeks. As I took a deep breath of freedom, my parents came rushing over, panic and regret written all over their faces. "Ava, please forgive us," my mother sobbed. "Sophia fooled us completely. Can't we try to be a family again? We're so sorry for everything we put you through." But their words left no trace on my heart. I looked them both in the eye and told them quietly but firmly, "Forgive you? It's far too late for that. This isn't some innocent mistake you can brush off as being deceived. Even while I was suffering through fertility treatments at Piedmont Hospital, even while I broke down at David's funeral, you stood by my side pretending to be loving parents while knowing Sophia's lies were tearing me apart. Your apologies aren't for me, you just want to escape your own guilt." Right there in front of them, I pulled out my phone and deleted their numbers without a shred of hesitation. "The family I once longed for no longer exists," I said firmly, and walked away. Across the street, Margaret leaned against her silver Lexus, waiting quietly for me. The moment she saw my face, she asked softly, "Are you okay, sweetheart?" At that gentle question, all the tension inside me finally melted away. For the first time in months, I felt a genuine smile spread across my face. "Yes, Margaret. I'm okay. Or rather, I will be from now on." As we got into the car, I finally brought up something that had been on my mind. That lake house in Blue Ridge that David and I bought as an investment property, there are too many memories there for me. I just can't deal with it anymore. If it's not too much trouble, I'd like you to have it. Margaret's eyes widened in shock. "Oh, Ava, I could never accept something like that. Please take it. You helped me get my life back. This isn't just a thank you, It's the first gift I'm giving by my own choice to the real family I found." She was speechless, emotion glistening in her eyes. Gently, she reached out and squeezed my hand. "Thank you, sweetheart. I never had a daughter of my own. To think I'd finally gained such a wonderful one." 6 months have passed since then. I've returned to work at the accounting firm and am pouring myself into challenging new projects. On weekends, Margaret and I meet for dinner at local restaurants or visit the High Museum together. The honest stories she shares about David's childhood somehow bring me peace I never expected to find. I've received several letters of apology from Sophia and my parents, but I throw them away without opening a single one. Sometimes I catch my reflection in the mirror and I'm surprised by the woman I see there. She's not the person I used to be. She's no longer the broken woman crushed by grief, nor the wife trembling with rage and betrayal. Life really is strange. Just when I thought I'd lost my family forever, I found a new one in the most unexpected way. This wasn't the life I had planned with David. But maybe, just maybe, this is exactly where I was always meant to be, stronger, wiser, and surrounded by the kind of love that's real.